Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid any lazy negativity, we have decided to make this episode a drinking game.
Just this episode.
Any negative comments that we say, and I mean any negative comments we say about this film, about each other, about anything, is going to get buzzed. You're going to hear this sound. And that means we're going to drink and then we're going to get buzzed. And we would love it if you catch up on your 90s nostalgia with us and drink along to this episode.
Yep. So pour yourselves a glass and let's step back into the Matrix.
Why not? Why the fuck would anybody get out of the Matrix?
They're doing it. They're doing it. They're stepping back themselves. We thought we beat them to it. Why?
Yeah.
We did. There was a little bit of a mislead, I think, this week, wasn't there? To be honest, I mean,
what was it to you? What did you think
ours,
this was doing?
or from?
This is a should have seen that by now episode.
Yeah.
Who hasn't seen this movie?
Fucking.
And it's really funny because once you said we were doing it, I found someone at my day job who was like, "Oh yeah, I've never seen that." I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah, sure. I'm sure there are some.
I have found one.
I'm sure there are some freaks out there who haven't seen it. I know of someone who had not seen it until the last year or two, but we can definitely say, because he was so excited to talk about it this week, our co-host, adult Jeff, had never seen this movie. Is that actually true? You hadn't watched it since the 2000s, like middle school, high school era?
Yeah, so I know we always talk about what our first time seeing one of these movies was in this category. So like Citizen Kane, have we ever seen Citizen Kane, for instance? This is true. So hold on. So I should have seen it by now. I'll call myself out. Is this category fraud?
We haven't seen that in a while.
It's technically category fraud, but here's what happens. This is a true story.
At least we own it.
In 1999, my family got a big screen TV, which was our first flat TV. It was still a square, but the screen was flat. And it was one of those huge ones that weighs like 5,000 pounds. Yes. That is, 5 feet tall. And like the base of it was as big as the screen. Those huge, big screen TVs.
At least 5 80s and 90s villains died by the hand of that thing. So yeah.
Oh my God, so many people lost like toes. We got that and a surround sound system with those gigantic 20-pound speakers in the rear that like we couldn't even hang on the wall.
Everything was heavy in the 90s.
Everything was heavy in the 90s. And we got a DVD player from Seymour Appliances in Metuchen, New Jersey. And I shit you not, as we're leaving, I remember...
Shout out to Seymour Appliances.
Yeah, I remember going with my family.
If you're still around, Seymour Appliances, good for you. Throw us a sponsorship.
They're still there. They're still on 27. Okay, hold on. So I remember this vividly because we're getting all this shit. And I swear to you, the guy says, well, are you going to get some DVDs? And I think my dad was just like, no, we're just going to get this home. Like, I think we were just picturing getting this shit home. He was like, we'll just get it home and then we'll worry about that later. And the guy was like, no. You have to take a DVD. Here, this just came out on DVD. And he gave us The Matrix. So this was the only, I'm not kidding you. Eventually we got like a pack of DVDs from like a website that came with like Stepmom and Stargate and like this weird fucking, like whatever.
I think I got the same pack.
Why did we have Stepmom?
Not even kidding.
Who threw that in the DVD pack? Anyway, we got The Matrix. It was our only DVD with this gigantic new system that was so revolutionary at the time. No pun intended. Matrix, huh? And I like my friend.
Yeah, you can buzz that. Yeah, I was like, go ahead and do that, Dave. I saw your hand.
So anyway, I watched it so many times.
I didn't even
have
a finger on the button. He almost slipped that one by.
I watched it so many times in 1999. My friends would come over and I would show off the new system, and by just like skipping ahead to the scene at the end with Trinity and Neo going through the metal detector. I watched it so many fucking times that I just never saw it again because I felt like I knew it really well. And then I saw it on HBOMax the other day after we were watching the Eternals, Dave and I. Not John. Thanks, John. And I was like, I want to
say my 2 cents. Yeah.
So I watched it. And actually, the real reason I thought it would be good for our episode where we buzz ourselves for anything funny is they spend half the movie saying, we can't explain the Matrix to you. It's like, you have to see it for yourself.
You have to see it for yourself.
They explain it to Neo in 3 fucking words. Oh my gosh, where is the quote? Where is the quote? They're like, unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. What is the Matrix? The answer is out there, Neo. It's looking for you. And then eventually it's, the Matrix is a neural interactive simulation. They just explain it to him.
Okay, no, but basically that's a timeshare scheme. I can't tell you about it till you take this little holiday in a construct and attend this meeting.
Exactly.
He fucking bought the timeshare. He bought the timeshare. Cypher didn't. He did.
Nice.
Guys,
Anyway, I thought it would be good fodder. John's gonna go quiet his dog.
I'm gonna go grab my fucking dog. I'm so sorry. I'll be right back. I can hear every word. Don't.
All right, Dave's gonna go first. Dave, what is your experience with this groundbreaking film?
I can't even remember the first time I saw this, to be honest. And I have seen all three of them so many times. I mean, the first one, hands down, is the best of them. And I think it's the best because they didn't have much money, so the attention to detail was there with all the the visual effects and stuff. Everything was some of it was just a little bit practical. They only relied on it when they could because it was very low budget at the time. And when we got to Reloaded, you've got bullshit like trucks without axles and shit. That's real, by the way. Pause it. It's real. Truck doesn't have an axle.
Did we both do that?
But yeah,
okay.
I can't remember the first time I saw this. I remember all the 200 and something times since.
But you've seen it multiple times.
Oh, hell yeah.
Going into this rewatch,
yeah,
before this rewatch, did you view it highly?
Not for the last couple of years.
Okay, cool. We'll come back to that. John, what was your experience?
I had the classic, because this came out in 99, so I was in middle school, 8th grade. I remember going to the viewing. I actually talked about this movie. I think I rewatched them in their entirety over the pandemic at least once, you guys. I'm not kidding. I know this didn't make our countdown, like we said, but the franchise Face Off. But I still rewatched it at least once, and I know I had rewatched it at least once previously within the past 2 or 3 years. In that conversation, just chit-chatting with my friends, we all remembered fuck, dude, we saw that movie together. We remembered going to it together, seeing it together. It was iconic. I was in the very back row. I remember talking about it afterwards. We were having a conscious conversation after seeing the movie about how that movie is going to change the way movies are made. I remember, everyone from the trailer, of course, the Trinity help, the slow motion stuff, the slow to fast motion, the 360 pans, a lot of that stuff hadn't been used that way yet. So we were all just, we didn't know anything about
that was brand new. They invented that.
But yeah, we were just so excited about the technology, the gun scene. I know it's violent as fuck, but that lobby scene is still, it's one of the most awesome gun fights of all time.
I would also say that Dodge This is possibly more quoted than I Am Your Father.
Dodge This. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I say Trinity help all the time in my head whenever anything goes wrong. Trinity help. Oh, God.
He's in the cubicle at work and he's around the toilet paper. It's like, Trinity, help!
John's in the Starbucks bathroom, fuck, there's no toilet paper and I just pooped.
Literally. Exactly.
All right. So before we get into our conversation, we have a couple things to look forward to this episode. So here are things that we are going to discuss. 1, what aged really well? We're going to talk about that 22 years later. Also, I should pause there and say that the 4th installment of this franchise is coming out December 22nd. So we are a month away from Resurrections. Part 4, Resurrections, which has a long-haired Neo. A long-haired Keanu
Or as we call him, Keanu Jesus.
Keanu Jesus. Get out of here with the Keanu Jesus. Okay, so that's coming out. So anyway, what aged really well about this? That can include signature shots,
actually,
technology.
Is Jesus Reeves better?
Get the fuck out of here. Okay, we're gonna talk about casting. I know there's at least one famous casting story that a lot of our listeners probably have heard, but there's some really fascinating casting things that we're gonna go through. Some quotes that have stood the test of time, influence on other movies, and I have a nice little gimmick because there are some maybe plot holey things that didn't age well and some nitpicks, but rather than criticize an awesome movie, we're going to turn it into a funny game of wrong answers only, where I call out a plot hole and then we explain it with wrong answers so that we can laugh about it and drink and move on and not criticize this awesome fucking movie. Are you ready?
Jeff, what led you? Did you already go into exact detail and I just missed it for why you were drawn to this on HBOMax?
I actually did. I did in our last week episode.
I know you said it sort of like I listened to that episode. I know you said it was on and you watched it, but just in case anybody missed that one, Was it just because the new one's coming out and it was on your mind?
It was, yes, it is because of that. But also we saw Eternals, which is, to me, I just took it away as like a global warming story that should have just been a one-off global warming story and not this whole other thing. And it was about, humans are heating up the planet. I don't mind spoiling this movie anymore. The human beings are heating up the planet for the Celestials to be born. And then I saw The Matrix when I was flipping through on HBO Max, and I was like, oh yeah, the battery thing. Like the human beings as battery element. I kind of just like let that go from my brain. That's the reason for The Matrix. And I was like, you know what, that's curious. This seems like a better use of that situation. So I just clicked play and then I couldn't stop watching.
Yeah, cool. Also, HBO Max has released those packs now. So you've got the Matrix series, the Harry Potter series. They're all grouped together. Yeah. So it's tempting to just sit that and tune out for a day. I will tell you one thing on the worrying about spoiling Marvel movies. You can spoil anything you like about the Marvel movie except the after credit scene. I think that's the rules.
Deal.
Yeah, because that's all anyone goes to see now.
Even though one of the after credit scene, a person who appears in that is already in the IMDb cast for Eternals, even though they're not in the movie. They're in.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Let's do a quick description of what this movie's about, and I'll go through background and context too. So this is the story of Neo, who, when a beautiful stranger leads computer hacker Neo to a forbidding underworld, he discovers the shocking truth. The life he knows is the elaborate deception of an evil cyber intelligence. I'll take this moment to say fuck QAnon really quick. I'll just go ahead and get that out of the way.
Come on. You missed the boat there, guys.
Sorry. We talked about this coming out in 1999. This was the fourth highest grossing movie of 1999. Number one. Guys, you know what number one was?
No.
1999. That was... No, I don't. Sorry.
Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, brought in $924 million worldwide. And
the best April Fool's joke ever.
Buzz yourself, you ass. The fun fact about that,
$924 million.
The Matrix would go on to win 4 Academy Awards, including film editing, sound effects, sound design, and visual effects.
George Lucas is like, we've got this. And then
I know.
The Matrix came along and he's like,
all 4 of those categories, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace was up. Okay, the number 2 highest grossing movie of that year, The Sixth Sense. Number 3, Toy Story 2.
That deserved it.
And then the rest of the top 10 in order after The Matrix, Tarzan. How did that get to number 5? Jesus. The Mummy. Sorry.
The Mummy.
Notting Hill, The World Is Not Enough, American Beauty, and Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. American Beauty won a bunch of Oscars, yada, 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 yada. The soundtrack for this was a hugely popular soundtrack. It is kind of considered to be one of the first goth pop, like goth popular culture, not actual pop. Rob Zombie's Dragula is in this movie. That was probably one of the biggest hits at the time. This is kind of the first time that people wearing those giant JNCO jeans were like, fuck yeah, this sound is mine. This is my movie.
Dude, this opened the door to Rage Against the Machine for me.
And then Rage.
My sister had already been a fan, but like this, the classic wake up at the end of this. Come on, dude. Oh my God. I was like, what the fuck was that, dude?
Yep.
I got obsessed with
Where do I find that? Now it's easier. But back then we had to go looking for it.
It draws on religious...
We had to go on Napster.
This movie. I downloaded a shit ton of. I downloaded a shit ton of Napster stuff. This draws out a lot of religious stuff. Obviously, Neo. There's going to be somewhat of a Messiah complex in there. So Christianity, Judaism, even Buddhism, martial arts, and anime. So you definitely had a lot of white people say, "I know kung fu" in a weird accent that probably offended a lot of people around the world because of this movie. I know kung fu. That was probably a line that Neo did not create, but I think they got a lot of credit for that. $63 million budget, made $462 million worldwide, which is pretty goddamn good. And that does not go into movie posters and all the other things. And then obviously the 2 sequels that would go on to make.
Well, I think the marketing for this was quite light because it was a low budget as far as they were concerned. Nobody thought this was going to do anything.
It came out early. It came out, you said April Fool's. This came out March 31st. So it's early in the year for this to come out. And it was one of those movies that just stuck around for weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And guess where, Dave, do you know where it was filmed?
Yeah. A lot of it was in Sydney.
Yeah, Fox Studios in Sydney, Australia, which is why
some of that area is some of that area is downtown Sydney as well.
At least 2 of the agents are Australian.
The area around where he sees the girl in the red dress, that's pretty much almost where I had to go to get my visa back when I was on visas.
Oh shit! Oh, great.
Yeah.
Dave's have a lot of visa stories.
He looks out the window from the police station. I think it is. I think you can see the Good Morning Australia set down below, like the live stage thing.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right, well, let's do it. Let's go into our initial takeaways from this rewatch. Who would like to go first? I have a feeling John didn't rewatch it since he watched it at least once during the pandemic. But John, what do you think?
I mean, look, again, I won't say exactly who it was, but my friend and or family member who had not seen it before until a couple of years ago. I remember talking about it with them.
You just narrowed that down a lot.
I know. We know who it is, right? He may do the music for this podcast. And I remember thinking, I guess it's impossible for me to not watch this without a little bit of the time capsule cap on, just because I do go back. I can't help, it made such a huge impression on me when I saw it. So he had some critical things that didn't really totally work for him. But I cannot imagine watching this movie after the Matrix effect. It had such an enormous impact on sci-fi, on the movies, and like the whole idea of humans being, farmed, and this idea of the Matrix, this computer metaverse, basically, that we're all living in. Like, that wasn't a big thing that was talked about outside of niche sci-fi, communities and novels before this movie. So I bet it does seem a little trite. It could seem a little trite and a little dated to someone who feels like those ideas are exhausted now. It does not feel like that to me. This movie still feels like it's brand fucking new, because this was the Wachowskis' second film. I don't know if they made any shorts before this, but they wrote screenplays. They hold on to this one. They fought for all of this aesthetic. They got all the things that they wanted by minimizing on budget stuff and having to be creative. So it still feels like I'm watching somebody's very, very original vision. So I don't care if the story and some of the story elements and the plot holes that some people might point out, it's never gotten in the way for what the essence of it is, which is something I still feel like at the time was almost completely original. Again, outside of like novels and stuff, it rung true for me. I just, I don't know. I just feel like it's too easy for people to pick on this movie, and I've never understood why. I've never understood why people hate on this thing.
Do they actually hate on it, or do they think it's cool to know dirty little secret?
I think as we get older, I feel like I've heard some people rewatch it exactly like we're doing and say like, there are some problems and it's not as interesting as we thought it was. I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe you can't watch movies that way though. You shouldn't do it.
You don't go into a movie looking for the faults.
No,
like.
If
you don't find them on there, like if they're not present, like visible in their own, then you shouldn't go looking for them.
So I'm ready to fight with you, Jeff. If you're ready to come at me with some critiques here, no, we're going to get it on because I'm going to defend this movie.
Pointed questions coming, I'm sure.
Dave, what do you think? How was your rewatch like?
I had, again, I'd like to say the opposite experience with that. I cracked this on, I think it was Monday night. I cracked this on, cracked a couple of beers, and I sat back and I just had a ball.
Yeah.
I love everything about this damn movie. Like the way it begins and it goes, "Fuck you, you know nothing." We're not going to explain any shit to you. It's like it's like the anti-Eternals.
The anti-Eternals, get out of here! Come on, we just did an episode on this. We're basically telling people not to even bother. Wait, but we praised Eternals, Dave.
Yeah, we did. But again, there's no text scroll. Like one of the things I criticized about Eternals, there's no text scroll. Sure. There's no explanation. There's no voiceover going. This happens. It just starts. And it starts really weird, and you're like, "Where is this going?"
Weird. Different soundtrack too, isn't the sound?
And they make you go there, like they take you on the journey. Then you've got your Agent Smith, which became a fucking classic character. You've got the soundtrack, which is just fucking amazing. There's like the epic fight scenes and camera work. There's not like, even if there are a couple of like slightly longer scenes, like if you're a fan of this movie like I am, waiting for those scenes gets you through the slow stuff. Like it's pacing now that like, oh no, this is very rewatchable because there is some stuff that is like very, very memorable and very exciting and very well done. And I'll share a quick anecdote. I said like this thing has such a fan base. Back when I worked at Warner Brothers in Australia, I worked in a theme park there for a little while. Warner Brothers Movie World. Yeah. I don't know if any of those guys are listening, but we had one of the guys in the show. We did a Matrix show. And it was all live stunt fighting. And one of the guys in the show could do the stand-up from his back that Smith does. What? And he could do it live without wires. And it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, shout out, Damo. Good on you, mate.
Shout out.
Then we ran that show, and one day there was this little kid, and he would have been about 3 foot tall, and he got wound up by this show and so wound up like by seeing this what he'd seen on TV live, that he just got so excited. And the first thing he had to do was he had to take a swing at something. So he just swung around and punched his dad square in the nuts.
What?
His dad folded like a lawn chair.
And the nuts, only in Australia do you punch your dad in the nuts.
Trinity!
It was so good. I saw the whole thing. I pissed myself laughing. So yeah, this is the kind of effect this movie can have on you. You get so wrapped up and so excited in it. And it does it to me every time. The first one. Absolutely.
Right. What aged well out of this?
I have a couple of favorite scenes. The fight choreography definitely aged well. Even the effects aged well.
Mm-hmm.
Like they really nailed this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only effect that was a little weird for me, but in hindsight, it works in context, is the Trinity jump at the beginning in the open. It almost has this weird, like, spherical, like, time capsule-y, like, there's something about, like, that dive she's doing, and then she goes through the window, and then she points the gun at the window, and then she says, "Get up, Trinity, get up." That kind of jump looked like it was different than the rest of the effects. In the movie.
Yeah, they fucked that effect up.
Okay.
The lighting is like that's the lighting that's supposed to mesh with the scene somehow doesn't align. So where the lights are coming from is the opposite to what the scene is actually doing when she's spinning. That's why it looks weird to you.
It's still cool, and asshole me for criticizing the movie. No, you should be buzzing me. I didn't mean to criticize the movie. What the fuck am I saying? That didn't age well? What an asshole for me. I agree.
There you go, have one.
Thanks. Job, what aged well for you?
Yeah, definitely. Overall, I'm going to say the effects. I guess I'm more curious, honestly. It sounds like you have some things that didn't age well that are locked and loaded that maybe we could critique.
We'll get to it when we've been drinking a little bit more. We'll get to that little section of it.
He's gonna set us up.
Yeah.
No, because I've listened to another podcast where they were just like, they just started riling, like they were like, they just started critiquing it, and I was like, come on, guys, I'm not having fun anymore. So I'll get there.
Yeah, I think. How
about the story?
I love the female empowerment. You know, I mean, I know that, it's not like that's a brand new thing, but I think it's such a prevalent aspect of what we talk about with storytelling nowadays. But I mean, Trinity was awesome. Awesome the whole time.
Except right at the end.
It was.
We'll get there. That's part of our thing. Yeah.
Except right at the end.
We'll get there.
I think. I guess I have a couple things that I could see not aging well that doesn't necessarily bother me, but we can definitely get there.
Wait till we've been drinking.
I guess the casting, maybe that didn't age very well. That it is mostly.
Well, we'll get to casting, but it wasn't supposed to be. We'll get to casting.
Yeah, they did have to cast it in Australia. Not a lot of diversity in Australia.
Sure, that's why. And the agents,
actually, there's a fair bit, but
the agents were going to be white. But two of they wanted. We'll get but then the other two agents.
I know at least one
Jones,
Greek person that's in it.
A Greek person. Nice. I love Carrie-Anne Moss when she meets Neo, and Neo just goes, "Oh, I just thought," which is funny because the name Trinity to me for some reason has a feminine effect to it, which doesn't matter. But he goes, "Oh, I just assume you're a man," and she just goes, "A lot of men do." And that's like, what a way of approaching this right on. Of course, we know a lot more about the Wachowskis now than we did in 1999. Their first movie was about like a gay women con artists. They're ex-con artists that are getting back in, which again, not anybody knew when The Matrix came out. But I think
Bounce,
Trinity,
I believe.
Yeah, I think the character Trinity is huge in this movie, and of course, the Agent Smith definitely aged well. I'll give you one thing that I think aged really well for me is the whole Oracle scene. I think in relation to the rest of the movie,
Heart of the damn movie.
They bring the Oracle back, which is funny because I believe she passed away like right after they filmed her stuff for the next movie.
Yes. No, it was after this one. Actually, no, it wasn't. You're right. It's after the second one.
Yeah, because I think because
she got punished. Like they wrote it in that she got punished and had to change appearances in the third.
Yeah. It's a bummer. She died in 2001, just for reference. But the whole thing, especially when you think of the love story and you think of this, they set something up really well when it comes to like the other things that might not have aged well, which is the Oracle told me she told you everything you needed to hear. So, for instance, it starts obviously with the plant getting knocked over. Like, don't worry about the planter. And of course he goes, "What planter?" And he knocks it over. And he goes, "How did you know?" And she says, "What's really going to wet your whistle? What's really going to wet your, I don't know, not sexual.
Beak?
Yeah. What's going to wet your whatever is whether or not you would have knocked it over if I hadn't said anything." And then of course, so just that alone, Neo going back to save Morpheus, that is to direct relation. And then the love story, which we'll get to, which didn't age particularly well for a lot of people. And yes, the Oracle did say, I can see why she likes you. And Neo goes, who? And she goes, not very smart. So clearly they're setting up the love story. But then if you really use that philosophy on her talking to Neo, maybe she doesn't actually love him yet, but she just knew that he needed a human connection to remind him that there's a reason for this. I don't know. I'm just saying. I think the Oracle scene aged really well, and it really made me look at the movie
was told
differently.
that was gonna happen from the beginning, like before he even got on the scene. So like she was trying to put herself in his way and to see if anything sparked from the very get go, and you don't know that until like right at the end when she reveals why.
I think that
and maybe
whole
they
scene
could have
aged really well.
Yeah, we'll get into that more about maybe there was more room for them to explore Trinity's perspective, which is that if she had been told this, if that was her destiny, that doesn't mean that she automatically loves this guy.
Yeah,
I feel like
maybe they could have explored her having to deal with, I don't know how I feel about this guy, as opposed to, it does kind of seem like she's the rock and he's kind of moving in the direction of discovering what everyone else already knew, including her, and she was just waiting for the right moment to tell him when the stakes were super high. So, I mean, maybe they could have done that, but I don't know. It's never really made me think twice about it, to be honest.
I think you'll probably see a little bit more of Trinity in the fourth one when it comes out.
Very curious for that.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope
I'm also very curious where that's going because they keep it very
close
to the chest.
Like, I mean, I want to know how she's coming back. You know, like there's so many.
Yeah. I feel like we'll discuss that at the end.
Sure.
Let's throw out a theory.
Yeah.
Signature shots.
Okay, this is so funny. In the rewatch, especially,
let's just go in order, dude.
So many signature shots.
Let's just go in order. When she jumps up at the beginning and they do the first 360 pan, get the fuck out of here, dude. That is iconic. When she jumps up and just holds the grasshopper, boom, that's amazing. When she jumps out of the building and lands in the half split with the fire explosion in the background in slow motion. Get out of here, dude. That is fucking awesome. Oh my God. Rolling in with a motorcycle. That is badass. Dave, hit me with one.
I actually like one of my favorite scene, not necessarily just the shot, is the Agent Smith speech where he's talking about I don't like the smell. And just the setting outside the window of that is just beautiful. Considering they're in a construct,
he takes his sunglasses up in the scene.
And pulls the earpiece out. But like that whole speech for me is fucking legendary. I love it.
The smell,
the perfect
dude,
delivery.
The way he says the smell, but before he even says the smell, the close up on Morpheus, the sweat that is running off of Lawrence Fishburne's head, like it's just so sensual.
I also love the detail of like the minor detail about how the first Matrix that they built was a perfect utopia and humanity rejected it because we want to be fucking miserable.
I like it.
Yeah, I love that.
It stops us from.
I think
every
time I indulge in fun otherworldly activities, I always feel like at some point I have put my finger into the mirror. That's a classic one for me. I think about that one all the time. So interesting. I love the sound design on that. How it when the sound slips into the Matrix, get real robotic and then fractures.
Oh hell yeah!
That's awesome.
A lot of people.
Shot of
go ahead.
No, keep going. You go.
A lot of people talk about back to the Morpheus scene that Neo's firing the machine gun, which first of all, just Trinity. We'll go to the uploads where Trinity gets she can fly a helicopter because Tank uploaded the program into her brain like that. But they're flying the helicopter. And then Neo, of course, tell me Game of Thrones wasn't sitting there like, how do we not do the Matrix?
Dave, you would totally be a combination of mouse and Tank.
Nice.
Building the programs and like operating the live Matrix
and having the woman with the red dress, and not even naming her, just calling her the woman in the red.
I really love the you know what we talk. I'm just thinking about all this crap so much, now in school, of course, but like how far can you push cinematic language? There's a great quote by Billy Wilder: "Make your choices, make your subtleties obvious."
Oh wow!
So in terms of cinematic language, if we were sitting around our room and we were saying like, is it too much when Neo gets pulled out of his battery or whatever and he's dropped into the water is it too much to have him like born? Is he going to be naked? Can we like pull him out
Right.
and show him being born like a naked baby? And we might say, oh, that's too much. It works. That shot of him being pulled up by the claw when he's just totally nude and hairless and oh man, that's just again, it's just so visceral. There's something so intense about it.
I'll call it haters in case any of them listen, because people are like, well, why don't they just kill the defected one when they realize? Because they hacked the system, they hacked it, so they hacked the sewage. You have to assume that Morpheus is in control of this, and they told us that ahead of time too. Back to the Morpheus scene, I forget how I got sidetracked. So people call on the fact that Neo shoots 1 million rounds of shots and doesn't hit Morpheus. You just again, you have to think that he's tapped into something higher, and so he knows where he's shooting, even though it's a little wild, but. The signature shot for me is not only the helicopter being right outside the window, which they do so much better than Batman and Robin or any of those other movies that try to do weird shit like this. The shot
That's an interesting benchmark to set.
I know, right? The shot from below the helicopter up where they cut the sound out, except the bullet casings falling from the sky with the helicopter rudders going around, and you just hear the click coming down, and then you go back in and then the sound comes full. I mean, holy shit, what... I saw that shot and I was like, "Oh my god, this takes me back." Because
I feel like we're just doing. You guys know the Chris Farley. You remember? You remember?
You remember when you did? Yeah, when he's interviewing somebody. Wait, Paul McCartney. You remember when you were in the Beatles? Yeah, it was awesome.
We've turned into member berries.
That's so funny. Of course, the famous shots are Neo opening his jacket. Of course.
Holy shit! Yeah, dude, that's so
holy shit! And then all of this stuff, and then when he stops the bullets, obviously signature shot.
When he stops the bullets, I love when he realized, because that whole sequence, it's smart filmmaking, you guys. It's ways to tell story in a giant action sequence. So we have the story element of rescuing Morpheus. We have another B element where Morpheus, throughout that entire 17-minute sequence, is realizing how to ascend. His skills are literally growing in front of your eyes. And he's mentally realizing how much of this is mental and how much he can just choose to do. So when the helicopter goes down and he wraps the rope around his arm, when he just chooses to hold the helicopter, do you remember that? And he slides across. And oh my God, that whole thing when Trinity jumps out of it. But just that moment where he decides to try to just hold the helicopter. That's amazing.
It's an interesting thing. The fight in the subway. I looked up where that was, and they gave them Redfern train station. Now, I don't know what it's like now, because we've come a long way, but Redfern train station in the 90s, not the safest place in fucking Sydney. I can imagine. I can imagine them going, yeah, they fucking said yes. They go, and then all these fucking stunt guys turn up to Redfern train station, and everyone's like, "Nope, so we're out."
I'm only going if you're going.
I was going to mention that one. Because I love when genres just slip into other genres. When the fucking tumbleweed just drifts across the subway platform before their fight, like a Western showdown. You're just like, yes. Oh, that one's great.
That's like finding a King Brown in Sydney. You're not going to where the fuck did that tumbleweed come from?
Exactly. It doesn't matter. That's how you know you're in good hands.
They do those shots from the waist that are famous in Westerns. They do that a couple times just to make the size and the scale.
Exactly, dude. My name is Neo, and he jumps up the backflip out of the subway. I mean, there's just so many classic moments.
The training sequences, obviously,
good shots. The training sequences. Stop trying to hit me and hit me.
That quote is so good. Yeah. And even though it doesn't make any sense, because obviously it was never going to work against, but when he not only runs up the wall, but then somehow flies 15 feet backwards. Of course, Morpheus is just waiting for him to land, and then he's going to kick him. But it's still pretty fucking cool that he did that, right? Learning that lesson is more important than hitting Morpheus.
I'm trying to think if there are any more mundane shots and situations in this movie that are just really well
it's really funny.
composed
We're talking about all the iconic camera work. There's a whole heap of CG stuff, like the squids and everything. The ship, the design of the ship is fucking phenomenal.
What do they call them? Sentinels?
Yes, the Sentinels. Yeah, I had that 3D model once. We actually again throwing back to that theme park I used to work at. They had a Matrix exhibit, and they had from the second movie they had the door corridor. where you walk in the corridor and it's just all doors. Oh my God, so many people had got busted having sex in that corridor. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
Of course. Yeah, what did they think was going to happen?
I'm just outing these
Bunch
guys
of
right now.
private rooms.
Yeah. No, well, they were literally just small compartments behind the door. It was only like a foot and a half. So, you're hitting the door. It was.
You know the beer garden, the new beer garden in Astoria, that line of bathrooms? That hallway, it always reminded me of that.
Yes.
That's hilarious. All right. Are you ready to
Jeff, how about you, dude?
What?
How about, do you have any more? I think you only named one, maybe two. Do you have any other signatures?
I put a bunch in there. I mean, obviously the whole and remembering the surround sound thing, the whole sequence with Trinity and Neo and with the guns and stuff. This is like the video game boom of the end of the 90s, and of course it may have influenced school shooting. Columbine 3 weeks after, and they wore vinyl and leather, and anyway. But just every single bit of that sequence, the flips.
Just to clarify that, the movie didn't influence that. There was something fucking wrong with those guys.
They were already planning it ahead of time, but
they just decided to put on a costume because they were fucking nuts.
Exactly. Yeah.
Does the ending, the tech, the CG of the ending when he finally sees Smith standing in the hallway of the Matrix after
and then Smith becomes the Matrix, he becomes the code.
Yeah, does that work for you? I still think that's
I think
really
so too.
Cool. I really like how they
flying
execute
might
that.
not, but it's at this point it was like whatever. I don't know.
By that point you're like, I'm in, whatever.
I don't fucking care. Keanu worked so
Literally
hard to get
shot.
that turn with the
I buzzed
the foot raise.
Dave, but I was really
So
buzzing
good.
myself. Oh yeah.
I love. It still just lands for me every time how they have they've been so brutal with so many wide shots of gun violence throughout the rest of that movie. But when Neo walks in that door, it's all in slow motion and the gut shots, and they don't show you the initial shots. Eventually he does fall to the ground and he fills them up with the whole case. But the first shot or two, when you don't see it, it's out of frame.
When
it's
Neo
just
gets
the
shot by
sound.
Agent Smith.
Yeah, when Neo runs into the room, it's still just so emotional. The sound drops out.
Yeah.
It's just so well executed. And then it flips it on his head, and it's just very casually violent. Boom, 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 boom from a wider
it's
shot.
And that's
really
what I'm
good
saying.
contrast.
Whether or not you think the love story was justified or pulled off or whatever, I think Trinity told Neo just what he needed to hear. I think she told him exactly what he needed to hear. That's what I would say to anybody that's hating on the love story. Are you ready to get into some casting? And in this, we can give some more shout outs to the actors while we're doing
we're going
it.
to
But are you
casting
ready
now?
to
All right, go.
Okay, cool. So
Let's do it.
we're turning this into a section because I heard a very famous story from this. By the way, I want to shout out our friends at the And Almost Starring podcast. This is Amy Jo Jackson and Jeff Ronan. Both of them have been guests on our show. John has been a guest on their show. They break down casting of movies. Jeff Ronan always looks it up. Amy Jo doesn't. And so she kind of guesses who was considered for the roles, and it's a little subjective. So shout out to them. Here we go.
I'm playing the part of Amy in this scenario because I know nothing about this.
I looked them up, and neither of you have seen this, but that was not exactly to take their gimmick. This was just okay. So let's have some fun with this. The only person who was cast, no questions, concerns, was actually Cypher. Joe Pantoliano, the guy from Memento, was cast because he was in Bound with the Wachowskis, and they told him ahead of time, we have a part for you. It's not the hugest part in the world, but it's yours if you want it. And he said, yes. Done. Check. So he was Cypher from the very beginning. Now let's get to Neo. What do you think of Keanu Reeves' performance?
I feel like there was a producer somewhere laughing, going, we gave him Keanu Reeves. And then they're like, "Oh shit!" at the other end.
Shit, he's perfect for this. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think we know where you're going to go with this, Jeff, about who was offered it first. But even at the time, let's not pretend. Even at the time, Jesus, even at the time, everybody was making fun of him. I know Kung Fu, but the further away I get from that movie, the more I realize it was a perfect role for Keanu Reeves.
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect.
I never made fun of him for this.
Good.
It was amazing.
I wouldn't want somebody in there who had such an emotional. It's not about depth or no depth. It's about the way they explore that with behavior. I want someone that's that kind of stoic
He's a hacker.
in this role.
He spends his whole life staring at computers.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Even just the way he said, "Whoa," the first time.
Yeah.
I think more people said
good.
"whoa"
That was
subconsciously because of that, because of him,
That
also
almost became his "I'll be back."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he hurt his neck while they were filming, so he actually filmed the fight sequences last, but it gave him time to build his character. So he started out a little more simple, and then by the time he gets in, he does one of those famous lines, "How about I give you the finger You give me my phone call. I know my rights. It's like he's building so that when he becomes the one, I feel like he really earned it. All right. But we'll go through some casting because it's fun. Obviously, he was the perfect choice.
Who was that?
So the famous story that I heard, one of the first people, because at the time, this was 1999, this was still, you're not supposed to announce that if you were offered another role. But Will Smith very famously said he didn't understand it. He didn't know what the fuck was going on. And he was like, there's no fucking way I'm learning 6 months of Kung Fu for this shit.
I'm going to go do Wild Wild West instead, you dickhead.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, that's the timing. West. He was like, do I get a song? Okay, I'm in it. By the way, he got paid $20 million for that, and I'm sure he's not upset about it. Okay, so.
Yeah. Oh, I think he's
Will
fine.
Smith,
he doesn't even like making violent movies.
I'm actually one of the few people that like Wild Wild West, to be honest. It's campy and fun.
I think all three of us actually like that.
I kind of like it. I like Kevin Kline. He tried so hard. And then Kenneth Branagh.
Kevin Kline's fucking awesome.
And Salma Hayek too. Okay, cool. So,
back
to Neo. So here we go. 1999. You have Warner Brothers now, so you have, huge studio. Who do you guys think was offered a role? There's like 6 people that were offered, or at least considered.
Ed Norton.
Good guess. As far as I can tell, Edward Norton was not considered. He was a little too green, Primal Fear in 97. And I'm sure
Primal Fear should have fucking sold it though.
Yeah, but with the Kung Fu training, you have to imagine they're casting this around 1997.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
This is 99 too. Fight Club came out this
Wesley
year.
Snipes.
Wesley Snipes is a no. Good guess.
That is a good guess.
Wait,
dude.
John, can we follow through on what you were just talking about? What did you just say? What came out?
Fight Club.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt was considered. That is exactly right. Warner Brothers really wanted Brad Pitt, or Val Kilmer for the role.
Val Kilmer.
Warner Brothers was really curious about Brad Pitt or Val Kilmer for the role. The Wachowskis were not a huge fan, but they would have been fine with it. But they both declined. Somebody else apparently accepted the role and then had to bow out.
Was it Eric Stoltz?
Matthew Broderick.
Let me phrase it again this way. Let's assume that they started casting in 1997. What was the biggest movie of 1997?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Apparently, Leonardo DiCaprio accepted the role and he really wanted to do it and bowed out. And that makes 2 movies this year because he also really wanted to be in The Mummy, thanks to the End Almost Starring podcast. I knew that. And he bowed out to do The Fucking Beach. So he didn't do The Mummy or The Matrix because the Danny Boyle Beach took forever and ever and ever. So there you go, Leonardo DiCaprio. Other people,
you know what? I'm happy about that. I'm happy that he was tied up.
I think so too.
The Beach is a totally adequate movie.
Other people
Alex
considered.
Garland, that's his first script, dude.
You're right. I forgot we had seen that.
And I remember he made that vow or whatever after Titanic. He said, "I'm never doing something that I don't really want to do again. I want to do the edgier. I want to do the drama." So maybe he thought The Beach was going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. It was cool.
It was
a very
edgy.
different movie than
it was
The Matrix.
It was very edgy.
Just to wrap up Neo, apparently Nick Cage was another Wachowski choice. They really wanted Nick Cage. And
I still would have watched that.
Me too, of course. Can you imagine Nick Cage going, whoa, right?
Whoa.
And then they also were curious in casting a female as Neo and having a female Neo and a female Trinity.
Ooh.
1997 casting for 1999 film. They were curious about Sandra Bullock. What would Sandra Bullock be like as Neo?
Wow. Had she played a sincere dramatic role at that point?
I don't know.
Wasn't she coming straight off Demolition
queen
Man
of the rom-coms and
exactly.
I mean,
Demolition Man was back there.
Still love Sandra Bullock, but she was a high earner back then. I could totally see that. Any other women though? That was the only
one that came up for Neo, as far as I know. All right, let's move on to Morpheus, which the character is based off of the Sandman from an old comic that I don't know very much about. Okay, not very many people considered for this outside of Lawrence Fishburne. Dude, guys, what do you think of Lawrence Fishburne?
Just tune back into the Sandman. It's coming.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Lawrence Fishburne?
In his performance?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
flawless.
He's Morpheus. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I still watch Blackish quite a bit, and it's hard to look past. Honestly,
he said flawless.
I'm gushing myself for one comment.
It's fucking flawless, dude. I mean, he is. I also say this all the time. Show me. I say that all the every word out of his mouth.
He does the kung fu hand, and it's amazing.
I'm still sending Morpheus memes. Yeah. What if I told you and something you want to get across? I'm still that's still happening. Yeah.
Dude, when he powers up before he falls through the bathroom wall to buy them time when they're in between the walls. And,
Yeah.
I mean, come on, he's just so good. Excellent, excellent.
I
don't even want to imagine somebody else playing him, Jeff, but let's keep playing this game.
Nope.
Who do you think was considered? 3 people came to mind, one of which was a Wachowski choice, as far as I know, and the other 2 were Warner Brothers choices.
Bruce Willis.
Good guesses? No?
That was not a good guess, then.
No, I mean,
you said good guess, but the look on your face said something else.
Well, no, I'm because I'm
Give me a
looking because
hint
I'm
here.
curious.
Are they all kind of are they kind of in like that sage type, or were a couple of these guys like not going to be that type, like the sage, wise, wizardy kind of type?
None of them had played wise sage types by this point.
I was gonna think. I know this sounds random as hell, but I was thinking maybe like a very random Nick Nolte kind of take
Very
on it,
interesting.
like the
Very interesting. No, but very
that's
interesting.
crazy.
Anthony Hopkins. I mean, I know this is like so weird, but I could see them going in that direction.
Speaking of Anthony Hopkins, a lot of people thought Sean Connery was offered the role, but he wasn't. He was offered the role of the architect in the sequels, and he turned it down. But he was not considered for Morpheus.
I wish he'd taken that, to be honest.
Isn't that
That
curious,
might have
right?
changed that scene a little bit.
All right, I'll give you one which is very interesting from the Wachowskis is they were curious about Val Kilmer for this role. When Warner Brothers said we want Val Kilmer for Neo, they were like, you know what? Val Kilmer actually would be a decent Morpheus. Although he would have been a little young.
I feel like Val Kilmer often gets put in those positions. He's not the early bird. He's not the ingenue kind of character. He's the.
I'm still picturing Anthony Hopkins as Morpheus. It's like, what if I told you?
I'll give you one tease. One tease is one of the people offered. It's disgusting, Dave. One of the people offered is a very famous British actor who was playing a lot of villains in the 90s. So they thought he could be a good take.
Oh, Sean Bean.
Good guess, but no. GoldenEye was 96 or so. So yeah, that makes sense.
More of British villains in the 90s, not Ian McKellen.
Get off my plane.
Oh, come on. Winston Churchill.
Gary Oldman was considered.
Gary.
And Samuel L. Jackson. Interesting, right?
Shift! Just one bad motherfucker.
All right.
Take the motherfucking blue pill.
Two more.
No, honestly, how would they have written in motherfuckers? Can we play that game for a second?
Marvel managed to do it.
He's an actor, people.
Motherfucking show me.
All right, let's move on. There's 2 more people to go. Let's do Trinity. Obviously, Carrie Ann Moss. I think we praised her a lot. Any final words you want to say about Carrie Ann Moss's performance?
Again, I'm not gonna lie. This was because I had not seen Chocolat, and I had definitely not seen anything else by her by then. I think I watched Chocolat really soon after this because it came out in 2000, I believe. So that was the only other thing I had ever really seen her in. So this was a defining role for me. She just was Trinity. One of those really exciting times where they cast someone who wasn't a huge superstar, and we got to just totally believe that they were that person. And Keanu Reeves was just acting in the world that she already existed in.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I loved the performance. I'm very curious to see more. Like, I'm very curious to see how they utilize her in the new one because I felt like she was underutilized and kind of pigeonholed a little bit in the original series.
They gave her a lot of reaction
Definitely
shots,
the
which
second
I feel
and
like
the
they
third
knew
one.
that too. I feel like they knew that. She was like, I could be Morpheus if he dies, but I'm not gonna. It's all good. Okay, not a lot of people considered for this role. I think all 3 of them would be surprises to you.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
No, I'll give you one thing that is curious is that none of them are actors who are white. That's pretty interesting. So all 3 are actresses who are non-white.
Okay, Vivica Fox.
Good guess. Not too far off, I would say. There is at least one person who sings.
Who?
Jada.
Jada Pinkett Smith was considered for Trinity, and
she does get cast eventually in the second and third
she
one. So
is
I'm not surprised.
Niobe.
Yeah.
She is Niobe in the sequels, but she was considered for the role of Trinity. That's right. So both Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith did not end up being in this movie. So they both read the script and were probably like, "What the fuck is going on with this?"
Yeah.
The other 2, one is a big pop star. One was a pop star who was also an actor at the time.
Rihanna.
In 1999.
Who's not white.
In 1999. I mean, Rihanna's not white.
No, not Rihanna.
Maya.
I always get them confused.
Now we're just naming R&B stars.
The one who I'm so sorry.
She's
the one
in
who passed
okay,
away.
she's in The Night
Yes.
Professor.
Oh,
That's Jada.
Shit.
Well, Janet Jackson.
Janet.
Okay.
Janet
Wow.
Jackson was considered.
Wow.
And Eternals, shout out. Salma Hayek was considered. Also
Cool.
doing Wild Wild West around the same time.
Who was that in Queen of the Damned?
Wow.
It was Rihanna sprung to mind with this because I've had beer.
Yes, that's right.
It was
Yeah, I know you're talking about, Dave.
Yeah.
I thought that
We'll
was.
look him up in a second.
I got it. I'm on it. Keep going.
yeah.
Well, that's it for Trinities.
Aaliyah.
Nice.
Aaliyah. That's what I was guessing as well. Yes, yes.
Aaliyah. Yeah, Trinity. So that's Trinity. Okay, so the last casting we'll do. There's only one other person considered for this role, but again, iconic. To me, perhaps the person who really solidifies this film, Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith. What do you guys think of Hugo Weaving? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 9 being the lowest score you could possibly give, and 10 being the highest because you don't want to be an asshole. How fucking awesome.
Christopher Guest in Spinal Tap. 11,
23.
Dude. Just like, it's 11. I mean, it's
23.
Thank you.
Fuck you.
perfect.
But I mean,
It's perfect.
he is so good in this movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way he talks out of the...
Yes,
he goes, I have sunglasses on? Okay, cool. I'm going to talk out of the side of my mouth. And I mean...
He's
Ridiculous.
he's got that contained rage the whole time. It's like this guy just wants you dead. Like,
Yeah.
he just wants you dead and to go away so he can go home.
I don't even need his reason for why
It's
he
like
wants them dead,
your
but I like
whole
that I get it.
existence is a fucking inconvenience to him. He communicates all of those things beautifully. It's
incredible.
one of the seminal performances of the 90s as
He's
far
got
as I'm
such a-
concerned.
Yeah. I mean, it defined his career, right? I think he had already made Priscilla, and I'm sure he had made a bunch of
Dude,
Australian
Priscilla's
and maybe British
amazing.
stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's a ton of it.
And then that same year or the following year, Lord of the Rings.
Well, he wasn't in the
Yes.
2001 it came out, but I'm sure he started
Yeah.
filming it around the same time. And then, of
They
course,
started
we
that
have
to
around
see him, like,
2099.
Just to see him do like completely opposite kinds
Yeah.
of roles. I mean, it's just so he's iconic.
and then
for sure.
and then V in 2005.
He went from a character who hates humanity to a character who hates humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To V, who is going to
And
kill
then
humans
back
to
to-
save
and then
humans.
Well, he was
Sustain- yeah, I was gonna say,
actually
exactly,
there's still the jury's still out on how much of him was in that because he did
Well,
the voice.
Don't let that man babysit your children.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
really
pretty
funny.
much.
Only one other person was considered for the role of Agent Smith, as far as I could find. And he is not an American actor. And I think he had a couple hits in the 90s, but not an A-list actor. But somebody you guys know and love.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yep. I don't know. Who is it?
I could see Tywin Lannister. I could see him doing.
Oh, Charles Dance. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I could see Charles Dance
All
doing.
right, who was that?
it.
If I can give in.
It was Jean Reno. Jean Reno was considered for the role of Agent Smith. But I think it was Hugo Weaving's to lose. And as I said 3 times this podcast, the other 2
Yeah.
agents were Australian, a local, one who ended up being the lead in Longmire. That's casting, people. Go listen to the And Almost Starring podcast, but really interesting shit in there. I think it's time for us to get into our game. Are you ready to get into our game?
All right.
Yeah, dude.
All right, here we go. So this game,
These are what is this?
this game, because we are a positive criticism podcast, which means that we only like to focus on the positives. We don't like to harp on the negatives, even though we can't help ourselves sometimes. This game is about plot holes and things that aged poorly, but we don't want to nitpick this awesome film, so wrong answers only. And we are calling this game Plot Holes and Things That Age Poorly, but we don't want to nitpick this awesome film, so wrong answers only, the game. Are you ready to go, people?
That was the best setup ever.
All right, here we go.
We're all drinking for that.
Here we go. We're all drinking? Wait, what the fuck? I didn't know we could do that. All right, let's go one by one. The reason Morpheus and Trinity can't explain the Matrix to Neo until they explain it to him in 3 words is...
We covered this. It's a timeshare scheme.
Dave thinks he's selling him a timeshare. John.
I mean, I think they're just following their own rules.
They're following
you
their
have to see
own
it?
rules. The guys in film school, people, what can we say?
You already talked about it, right?
We already talked about it. I'll move on.
Schools
Okay.
ruined you.
Okay, especially after rewatching this makes more sense. The reason we ever thought Cypher wasn't going to flip is a little heavy-handed with the Cypher. He really wanted out. He was not happy.
Yeah, I got to say, I got nothing on that. The only thing that would have telegraphed it more was if they called him Brutus.
That's
to be honest. Like
the only reason we thought he might not flip was because he wanted to fuck Trinity.
Oh, John, come through.
Ooh.
Nice.
Like very badly, right? He was like obsessed with her.
That's a real
in a
answer.
gross
That's
way.
not a wrong answer. That's true.
This is good. Okay,
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Right or wrong answers now. Okay. The reason anybody would rather live in the real world under Morpheus' control, eating porridge in a sunless mole ship is...
John?
I mean, dude, if I had superpowers anytime I needed to plug in, I feel like I would consider it. Isn't this literally Ready Player One? A shit
I'm
reality and a kick-ass, right?
Yeah, Dave?
Okay, well, I have a theory, and it's in the book that I'm publishing for $99.99 on Amazon, called The Matrix Explained. Everyone was genetically engineered to be gingers. So going outside at any time was dangerous, even without the machines.
That's good. That's good. That's really, really, really good. Okay, so Dave is doing wrong answers. John is doing what he thinks are right answers. I love this. Okay, cool. The reason Agent Smith pulls the mummy and seals Neo's mouth shut, the skin of his mouth closes in their interrogation scene, but they never explain it or remotely replicate anything like it in the rest of the film is...
What's the opposite of a glory hole?
You don't want to know.
Dave?
I can't top that.
Okay, good.
I had a paragraph written, but I can't top that.
Maybe we'll come back to it. Apart from looking awesome, the reason Trinity, Neo... Wait, sorry. That's not the one that we were doing. Yeah, apart from looking awesome, the reason Trinity and Neo did wall climbs and flips, despite the fact that they were being shot at by machine guns, and they were still wildly in the open, is...
Actually, now I know this one for a fact. They were actually running in a straight line. The cameraman tripped, and it looked so fucking cool they left it in.
Okay, I doubt that's true, but yeah, this is cool. John, why do you think they did flips while machine guns were literally going and they were like, I got an idea, let's run up this wall?
Those guns have a really complicated loading procedure. It's just easier to do upside down, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything super hilarious for that one. I really...
All right,
I'm glad they did it. How about that? I'm glad they fucking did it.
Because it looked awesome. We'll take it. Okay, cool.
Because it looked awesome, dude.
The reason Morpheus tells Neo, you are on a tapped phone, but go to the Adams Street Bridge. The reason he says it so clearly, even though he knows that the phone is being tapped, is...
You know, I mean, we've covered this. More people at the bridge, more potential timeshare customers.
Dave is all in.
Wasn't that part of test?
No. Wait, before Neo was out of the Matrix, when they got him in the car, he says exactly where they're meeting. Like it's not very secretive at all. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, cool. When the actors, this is a question about the actors, not about the movie itself. What are the actors thinking about while their eyes roll into the back of their head and go berserk during data uploads?
They were probably. Go ahead, Dave.
You go.
I mean, it has fill in the blank. Some joke with Vegemite. They're in Australia trying to digest that terrible fucking spread.
Vegemite does make your eyes go like that if you put it on too thick. So, yeah.
Dave, is that it? Vegemite for you too?
No. I think I can just picture Keanu like closing his eyes, wiggling, going, "Did my eye floaters just spell franchise?"
He's thinking money, ka-ching, ka-ching. All right. The reason the red pills, the name for Neo, Morpheus, everybody, Mouse. The reason the red pills dress like school shooters instead of agents or anything else that would actually blend in with the people around them since they are trying to hide from the agents is...
Because black leather is awesome, dude. Don't just...
Okay, I have a question. I have a follow-up question for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
On the subway, do you stare at the guy dressed like he's going to a cyberpunk donkey show? No, you fucking don't.
Look away from the guy who's going to the
You look somewhere else. You are not making eye contact.
Good point. Even though here we are looking at a crowd of 100 people and we immediately look at those three.
That is the first time I mentioned a donkey show on this show, so yay for me.
Yay. Dave's got the donkey show on here. Okay, cool. The reason the agents are so fucking bad at shooting is they're agents. They know the system.
It's starch. those suits will neither crease nor bend. So it puts the onus on the shoulders and the waist to line up the shot, and that's just recoil doesn't. Oh, come on.
Dave did his homework. John, what do you got?
I wouldn't even say they're bad at shooting. What are you talking about?
They can't hit these people. They can't. They shoot at Trinity so much throughout the course of this movie. Trinity runs in a straight line when she jumps over that building, and they kind of nick her.
Maybe that's true.
All right. The reason
I think it's written in. Isn't that? Don't they have an exchange about how always run from the agent?
Yeah, but she ran.
You can't outfight them.
She ran in a straight. Okay, all right. I'm buzzing you.
So
for
they don't really talk about. They didn't say like you can't outrun them.
Because you say run from the agents, that means that every time you run from the agents, you're going to live. That's great.
It means they're not very good shots. You might be able to get away if you run. You can't fight them hand to hand.
You're right. They did plant that seed. That is correct. Okay. The reason Neo, an infamous hacker and computer programmer, needs to just double check and confirm with Morpheus that AI does in fact mean artificial intelligence is...
In his defense,
movie writing.
In defense,
like there are several. You mean artificial intelligence?
There are several other things AI could stand for when you're talking to a guy dressed like that.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, that's a callback to another question. Good, John.
It's just movie writing, dude. It's annoying. It's the same moment in Dark Knight when Lucius is explaining to Bruce Wayne sonar, and he goes like a submarine. He goes like a submarine, Mr. Wayne. Exactly, like a submarine. Like we'd all like everyone on fucking planet Earth doesn't know what sonar is. I thought it was just Lucius
being a dick.
He should have. I wish it was that, but yeah.
All right.
It's always frustrating when people explain things in movies that both the characters already know the answers to.
But they do it quickly, so it's not a big deal. Okay, I'm gonna skip the last one because it was about the love story, and this is the final question, and this is the biggest thing that people talk about with this movie. So let's take it on head on. Oops. The reason Cypher, for his steak dinner with Agent Smith, that we know Cypher is the Night Watch. We know Cypher is alone, so he can theoretically sneak. But as far as we know, in the Matrix, you need help getting in and out of the Matrix. You can't do it on your own. How is it that Cypher is able to pull this off?
I never interpreted it as though you need tank on the computer. I thought
you can totally jack yourself in.
Yeah, I thought you could.
Yourself in?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, so you just have to plug the back of your head and then lie down, and then
what do you can set the program to launch as soon as you put it in.
You can set a timer to release the program.
That's probably what it is, right?
But also,
I'm on your side with this because people shit on this all the time, and I think
all you have to do is go, I have an appointment with the woman in the red dress, and nobody is going near that fucking control room.
You're right. I'm not buzzing that. That's right on. That's good. I'm sure even Mouse will be like, all right, tell me how it is. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it is kind of gross though.
In the rewatch, they spoon feed it a little bit because Neo, right before this, by the way, just so everybody remembers, Neo goes up to him, and of course, Cypher goes, "Whoa, you scare the bejesus out of me." The way he says that line is really funny. And then he turns off most of the monitors. So in hindsight, it's like, how did I miss that the first time? Like clearly, Neo can't even read the code, and he's turning the screens off. Mm-hmm. But it does set up that he's about to do something suspicious. And you know what? Maybe he did program in that, in an hour, this phone rings. So I'm okay with it too.
I mean, the agents could send him back out.
And the agents could, I guess, send him back out.
Exactly,
too.
Yeah. So it's kind of a freaky image to imagine, because I don't know if you could put it in yourself, but I'm imagining he can put it through the chair and lock
definitely
it, and
put it in yourself.
Lay down. And just you just have to lay down and let that thing enter your head. I mean, that just sounds terrifying.
You know what aged well is Morpheus's line, "This is going to feel a little weird." rather than explaining it, this is going to feel like this. He's just like, it's going to be a little weird.
Especially when you hit your 50s and the doctor says the same thing.
That's exactly.
Dave, how many times have I buzzed you in the past 10 minutes? Anyway, that's the end of our gimmick.
Speaking of putting it in,
and I'm glad I picked out the real ones that people complain about, and we actually were able to give real answers because everybody out there criticizing this movie, just chill out.
Answers.
Just chill out. Maybe they knew at the Adam Street Bridge that they would beat the agents there.
Did you cut the one about the guns?
I was curious about that, but okay, so this is a question that I asked. Thank you, Dave. A question that I asked is, why are the only weapons on this ship these gigantic lasers that look like they were what did I say they were taken from? The fucking huge laser blasters that they had on the gun. Why are they the only weapons on board? What was your answer to that?
Well, I want to take you back to the Legend of R2d2, where like the machines have obviously come across the greatest robot porn in the world.
Okay.
Which is Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because that little fucking blue droid just runs around sticking his thing into everything and spinning it. And they've gone, we need one of those. So they've cut off all the barrels to all the guns, recycled them into robot wings, and there are no guns. Also, there's no fucking sports stores. Like,
I think it definitely made sense for me.
I was wondering how long it would take you to cut me off on that.
I wanted to hear the whole thing.
That went way longer than I was expecting.
The Legend of R2d2. I always thought we were about to hear a whole tale.
Yeah, you're about to
It
tell
makes
the
total
saga
sense to me
R2.
that they didn't have, under the circumstances they were living in, that they wouldn't have had gunpowder and access to things that are necessary to make
well, they do.
bullets.
They do in Zion.
They do in Zion.
That's what I'm saying. If we were going to keep going with this, it did get confusing for me how in the second and third one they had guns. And in the first one they didn't establish that.
There's a lot of criticism about that in that, like when the first movie came out, they needed to release like an animated series and a fucking handbook and other stuff so that you could kind of explain what was going on in the movie. And a lot of people criticize it because that's the reason I like it.
Yeah,
because they didn't answer your questions. Like they left some of it up to you. It's like it was almost like filmmaker and viewer collaboration. We're going to take you three quarters the way. You come the rest.
And this is before the age of this. It has to be a franchise. There were trilogies. I think we think of them differently. This was still the time where there were trilogies every now and then of certain movies, but it wasn't the same way we thought of franchises, like open-ended. How much can we milk this for? Nobody dreamed of making more than 3 movies at this time. That's probably why this one capped at 3, but it did have the animated series. They did have tons of fan fiction. It did release stuff, and I don't think it was ever supposed to be that. Yeah. When was the last time you guys rewatched the second and third one?
When I saw it
was
in theaters.
A lot longer
wow.
than the first one. I can tell you that.
I was going to rewatch it for this, and then I was like, nah. I just rewatched the first one. I just rewatched this one again twice.
Yeah, I mean, I will even go with them a little bit on the second one, but the third one, forget about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we love this movie. That is cool. All right. Let's end on final quotes. Any other quotes that you wanted to shout out?
No, I've used them all up.
We not already screamed at each other.
That's what I thought so too, but that's what I was planning on doing. I feel like there's one thing that I was going to say, and I can't remember what it was.
I mean, how many? I know we just lived through 2020. Every time anyone said the word virus, I heard Agent Smith saying a virus, every single fucking time. I hear that.
They were describing us.
A cancer of this planet. You're a plague, and we are the cure. There is no spoon. Obviously, very famous.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Sure. There is no spoon. I say that a lot.
Did that? I mean, that kid had no idea what he was starting.
No, I know, right? That kid, there is no spoon. I wonder if the line inflection that he does is so bizarre and so funny.
There is no spoon.
It was like, no, it's fine. Just do an Australian accent. Yeah.
No, I like no, Lieutenant, your men are already dead. When Agent Smith already knows that one. That's a good one.
Yep.
Oh, that is a good one.
All right, we got to wrap this up.
All right,
because I've got to.
People, this is so fun. Okay, so the fourth film is coming out December 22nd.
This has been our longest episode ever of a single film.
Of a single film, yeah, maybe.
You guys almost went for an hour last week without me. How did you do that?
Fear always helps.
Trying real hard to talk very positively about Eternals. Good job. I
was gonna say Hamilton stole up the.
Coming out. Sure. I
was gonna get out of here, fucking John. I was gonna say Hamilton ripped off the bullet time. The bullet time thing is like an actual thing that people talk about, where you freeze frame the bullet and then you do 360 degrees.
Didn't Max Payne do it first? The video game.
See, I figured that there were other examples, but it gets credited to The Matrix because just of how awesome it looks. But Hamilton literally was like, what are we going to do about the duel? It's like, I got an idea. We'll do bullet time. Fucking Hamilton.
It works.
It does work.
I
imagine it comes out December 22nd.
December 22nd, 2020.
I really hope it's good. I think we have. Is anyone?
I feel like it's a Christmas movie you need to see.
The Wachowskis. How do you say Ch or K?
No, you said it right.
The Wachowskis.
No, you said it right
I'm really
before.
hoping.
Which
That's what
said
I
it
was
right
saying.
the first
I think
time.
I've been saying Kowski. I guess it's Wachowski.
Yeah.
I hope this one isn't. I hope they don't fall into the trap of.
Well, this is only
tons
one
of
of
money
them.
and tons of green screens.
This is just Lana that's directing.
It's just
this
Lana.
one, yeah.
Lily's not
Right.
involved.
Well, nonetheless, I mean, just based on the work she's done recently, I feel like sometimes, I don't know, if I'm being totally honest, I feel like, I don't know if she has benefited throughout her career from getting more and more and more money, the way it happens to so many people. I think the real treasure of this film was that she had to make it work, on what was probably considered a shoestring for what they were trying to accomplish technically. So I really hope that this one isn't just a bunch of really crazy computer CGI. I don't think I'm going to like it. So if the story is strong, we'll be there. And I hope they try to do things practical.
Can I buzz John?
Honestly, though,
Can I buzz John preemptively?
Bullshit. Fuck you. You both just said you have not seen the second and third one.
Yeah.
Because the story's not very strong. And do you remember the fight scene in the second one where they do the fake Neo? And how terrible it looked when he's fighting all the agents?
Yes, I do.
Wait, with the 50 Agent Smiths? I remember the 50
Yeah, it's like one of the worst CGI.
It's the same technology they used in the first Harry Potter, pretty much, for the Quidditch
So
match.
obviously,
right?
it wouldn't look like that. I just hope they don't start leaning into things like that. I feel like she's leaned into stuff like that, and I really hope she challenges herself to do as much practically as she can.
What I hope they don't
it's already
do
been
is
done,
rehash
so we
the
can't
first
influence
one.
it. So
It's already done. I hope they don't rehash the
Not that
first
she's
one.
listening to us.
Because it
Lana,
seems
you're
like
a genius. I'm so excited.
In the trailer, Trinity doesn't recognize Neo unless she's lying, which is possible. But she says, "Hi, who are you?" So what I hope they don't do is what Men in Black 2 with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones did, which is they explain the whole first movie to them. To help them.
There's one scene in the trailer I want to reference that makes this very interesting to me.
The terminal?
It's when Neo is staring in the mirror and he turns into a gray-haired old man.
Yes, and everybody's getting. Is he actually 70? Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
it's a good question.
and I'm like, did they just plug him back in? And he's been taking those pills the whole time.
That'd be a good way for him to say, "I'm dying after this movie, so you can't try to bring me back." Okay.
And just to leave everybody,
but again, I would say, like, is Morpheus going to do the same thing in a mirror, and we're going to quickly get a glimpse of original Morpheus?
And just to remind listeners, they both are dead by the end of the third one in the original version.
Yes.
Trinity dies, and then Neo sacrifices himself in like a Jesus style. So they're both dead. So this movie is happening when our protagonists are all dead. Everyone is dead on their entire team.
So much technology over.
Yeah, just so you can make a cross reference.
The Matrix.
All right. Well, friends, that was our episode on The Matrix. I hope you enjoyed reliving this. Again, they're all available on HBOMax if you listen to our entire spoil-filled episode, if you want to go back. But all three of them, they're in the Keanu Reeves collection. The whole Matrix collection is in there. But Keanu Reeves is his old subcategory on HBOMax. Fun. You have a month, people. A month.
Is Point Break in that collection? I'm going to watch it.
All
right, you guys. Did you watch anything you've been watching you want to talk about? Or?
Oh, God. I guess we should quickly do this. I rewatched Shang-Chi. Because it's out on Disney Plus now.
I was thinking about it.
Worth it. Because it's also the IMAX version now, so you get the not the full 0.9 aspect. You get like the wide, like your widescreen disappears at some point. So it's that kind of thing. It does benefit from it. Some of it looks really pretty. I also caught Red Notice, the Ryan Reynolds. The Rock, Gal Gadot. Yeah, it's good fun. It's good fun. Did not see the twist coming. There's a twist. Did not see it coming. And I sat down through The Faculty as well, which is a guilty pleasure of mine. Because for some reason after Halloween I was like, I'm gonna watch some cheesy horror movies, and The Faculty is right the fuck up there.
Why not?
So yeah.
John, anything?
I went and saw The Eternals.
You don't have to talk about it.
I'll leave it at that.
To.
Yeah. How about you, Jeff?
I watched. Avoid the buzzer.
I watched the Velvet Underground documentary. It was really cool. It was not what I was. It was way more avant-garde than I thought it was going to be. It's very avant-garde, very Warhol-esque. All right, people. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of The Matrix. Please like, subscribe on all of our socials. We yada yada that at the beginning, but it really does help us grow the show. And I hope to see you again next week. Take it easy, film fans.